you can expect a storm to blow the garbage all over the town. Um, it's we probably got 50-mile-an-hour gusts right now, and it's raining pretty good. It is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, no place, and I know people in Texas don't necessarily agree with this. No place is perfect. Um,
No, trust me, in the summer we agree with you all the
I
time.
was down. I went down. It was 2 summers ago in July to visit my daughter in Austin. And I don't know how you guys do it.
I
I
know,
mean,
man. I know.
uh,
We stay inside.
yeah, which is no fun. But I couldn't. I mean, it was 100 degrees by 9 o'clock in the morning.
I know. And Austin's a little tougher than Dallas, honestly. You know.
Okay, I have a kid. I have a kid that's going to play D line for me. That's in Frisco, Texas, right now
Okay. Wow.
for visiting. I guess for early part of his life, that's where he grew up before his family moved to Oregon. So he's back visiting friends. So we were chatting. So good kid. I'm actually I think the thing I'm most looking forward to getting back into it is working with kids again.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it'd be better if it was an orphanage, but such is life.
Well, not being the head coach, man, I that's not a terrible thing either.
I think when you've been a head coach for a while, I really think you come to appreciate the beauty of just being an assistant
Hmm.
and just get to deal with football and not all the other collateral damage that goes with being a head coach. And I enjoyed, being a head coach, but there were nights or years where it wasn't so enjoyable. But Seth and I have known each other probably 12 years now. Um, I know when he went to Missouri, he really tried hard to get me to go with him, and I kind of laughed. I said, "Seth, no one moves to Missouri." Um,
I know. I
so
think the pictures you show about the Oregon coast, I think, who would do that? Who would?
yeah, I mean, and one of the things that is because Crater's like 3.5 hours away from here, so we're not giving up my house. We're not giving up the things that we love. Seth fell into a really good deal. He's got 11 acres along the river over in the valley, so I'll just park an RV there and substitute a few days and coach his defense. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
It's awesome. So he's on property with 11 acres. Wow.
Yeah, I know you've been to Bend in the Redmond area.
Uh-huh.
Southern Oregon's a little bit I don't know, it's a little more green. It's not high desert like Bend. So, and the Rogue River, which empties out here in Gold Beach, runs right through the Rogue Valley. And so he's kind of out and away from the urban area, and got a really nice spread with a nice big bass pond in the backyard. So,
Neat.
yeah,
Neat.
first of all, him and his wife are just wonderful people, and they're gonna have a good deal.
It's
So,
awesome. Well, one of the prettiest drives I've ever made in my life. I mean, I was not driving, Nathan Stanley was, but from Redmond to Eugene for a scrimmage at Oregon. And so I think, I kind of know what you're talking about. Like we went from one part of the state
yeah,
to the other.
you probably came over the Willamette Pass.
Yes,
Um,
it was beautiful.
yeah, and I think that's the thing that I don't think people truly understand about Oregon. It's really four unique geographical, fish. Eastern Oregon is probably a lot like, you know, um, the Panhandle. It's high desert,
Hmm.
not a lot of rainfall, gets cold. You get the Bend and you get a lot more snow, and you got the Ponderosa Pine. But then you drop over the Cascades, and you drop into the Willamette, Rogue, and Umpqua valleys, and they're just beautiful
Oh, yeah.
river valleys. I'm partial to the ocean. I've lived on the ocean most of my life, and my wife will tell me I'm a healthier person when I can see the ocean.
Yeah.
Uh, but no,
Awesome.
I well, when they flew me up for the interview, I mean, at the end of the day, they had the beach, they had waves, they had good fishing, and a football team, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold.
I know. Yeah. Well, we're grateful, buddy. We have a Sports U, which is like a team chat. It's big in Texas. And I just put on there, that hey, Kevin Swith is joining us this morning, and of course this will be recorded. It's basically what this is a live podcast, and it'll be recorded, and people have access to it for hopefully the next 30 years. And one of the things, how I put on our Sports U is one of the best guys on Twitter. When I view you, Kevin, I just feel like you're somebody that likes coaches and likes to talk football, and interacts with coaches. And so even though we've met one time personally, I just feel like I know you because you're one of those kind of guys. And
Well, I think
man,
we all come from the same kind of servant mold. I was raised by a coach, and you try to give back to the community. And my hope is that I can leave the game in strong hands with strong personalities. They're going to help raise the youth and the fine young adults in the future. I mean, that's the end game. Hopefully, you can win some games along the road, but it's just we're educators for all practical purpose, and
yep.
I love the profession. And I feel blessed that people want to listen to me occasionally.
Well, we do, and thank you for being here. And I'm gonna and guys, this, no one's cameras on. I know everybody's working, everybody's got a day job. So, but if you have a question, put it in the chat and I'll ask, or unmute yourself and you ask. You know how this works. But we want this to be every session is much better when there's questions. And so please ask. But Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you drive, and we're grateful, buddy.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Randy. Anytime I get a chance to talk football, particularly early in the morning with a cup of coffee, is a good day for me. So I was a head coach from 1997 to 2018 at a little high school on the Oregon coach called Gold Beach High School, and I think it's important to remember we created a really good program, one that the community and the kids and all of us were proud of. And in 2000, I got out. I was exhausted, mentally, physically, from maintaining. They always ask you which is worse, building the monster or feeding the monster, and it's definitely feeding the monster. So I got out. I was concerned about my health and blood pressure, the same thing that afflicts all football coaches, I think. But stayed involved. Created the Drives Football Tool Chest, and my daughter years ago got me on Twitter as a way to network. What a wonderful tool. I mean, we all know the bad sides of Twitter and that, but what a wonderful tool to be able to connect with coaches nationwide and talk a little ball. So Seth Womack and I have known each other for about 12 years now. And we've talked several times about me coming and helping him. And with me retiring in June, that's gonna be allowed to happen. I'm gonna go over to the Valley and serve as the Crater Comets defensive coordinator, and I'm excited about it. I really am. So let's kind of delve into some things that I think are important defensively. Crater's going to be a multiple gap defense. I think everybody hangs their head on, we're a 3-3 stack, we're a 4-2-5. And I think the reality of today's game is we're all multiple. We're all going to move person around to do things. I would rather start in an even look, a base look of 4-4-4, 4-2-5, whatever you want to call it, and then multiple out of that. Other people go the other way. They start off in a 3-3 and then find a way to get that fourth lineman up there. So let me see what I can now. Oh, there it is. There it is. So my background, my beliefs, grew up in a coaching family. The first part of my career, I was a secondary coach, defensive coordinator at the small college level in Southern California, and eventually to the big high schools of Southern California. I have some scars like all of us. I'm pretty proud of them. So in 1991, I'm on a staff, Santa Margarita Catholic Trinity League School, and we have a team that is unbelievably talented offensively. We got 2 6'7" receivers. One would go on to be the Walton Payton Award winner. Had a great career with the Falcons. We did good things, and we ran up against a team that was 2 tight ends, stack guy, and ran the ball down our throat. And we were a run and shoot, throw the ball around, and they beat us. And they beat us for a couple reasons. When you throw the ball as much as we did, you're bound to have an off night. I mean, it's just the nature of throwing the ball. Our kids start to press. It gets worse. And defensively, because we had practiced most of the season against finesse and throwing, we didn't have that physical attribute to line up and play smash mouth. And that left a scar on me. You got to stop the run. You flat out got to stop the run. The next schemes, we all like pass league for what it is. I don't know if we truly understand the effects it has on our coaching. We seem to spend hours looking at Nick Saban coverages and Liz and Rip and match quarters and double invert and all these things. And then the season gets here, we usually play 2 or 3, and we can't stop the run because we've spent so much time defending the pass. And you got to defend the pass, but things that I look at watching high school, and one of the things my wife allowed me to do when we moved to the rural Oregon coast was to get DirecTV and buy that sports package so I could watch high school games from all over the country. So in watching, the Texas championships, the Michigan championships, the California, those teams that can control the line of scrimmage, either rushing yards or stopping the rush, are the ones that are going to advance the furthest in the playoffs. I think another stat that, if you grow up on the West Coast, you watch Oregon and Washington play twice this year, 2 really big ball games. But the stat that leaped out to me was yards after catch. Washington played a little bit more zone than man and really limited Oregon's yards after catch. Oregon played a lot of man-to-man, and Washington ran crazy after yards after catch. And then finally tackling, and the tackling in the game has just gotten atrocious. The amount of missed tackles. And I think, I appreciate the powers of be wanting to keep football safe and promote it, but like everything, sometimes the pendulum swings too far one way or another. And And I think a lot of the, I'm watching the NFL and it's hip drop. And man, that's going to be a tough thing to call because, one of the first things they say is gains control of the runner and then drops. And very few times have I seen someone gain control and then hip drop. The nature of the game is it's a violent modern gladiators. Isn't this one of the reasons they draw these huge salaries is because of that?
Hey, Kevin, uh, I'm going to ask the dumbest question, but what is the hip drop tackle? I've heard this, but I didn't Google it to research it, so I'm really not sure what it is.
It's kind of like targeting. Nobody really knows that either. I think the way I read the definition is the tackler gains control of the ball carrier around the waist. And in the process, he drops his weight or hip across the ball carrier's legs to bring him down. It's a big tackle in the rugby. There's no question. There's some unfortunate injuries that come with it. I think the ability for officials to say, bang, 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 this fits the definition is going to be considerably harder than it is. It's kind of funny. We're talking about Twitter. I was on last night talking to some guys, and I'm not so sure that the way we were taught to tackle in the 70s still isn't the best way. Everybody wants to rebrand something. Everybody wants it to be new, but it sounds like we're going in a circle now, and we're coming back to, the way we tell, you use your face as an aiming point. You aim at the guy's chest. You slide it to the side to keep your head out of the way. You wrap up and bring him down. And for years, people were worried about concussions and worried about leading with a helmet and all those things. And one of the big issues I've had the last 10 or 15 years with a lot of these sports medicine guys is they're making decisions and making rules on an incomplete science. There's so much about the brain that we still don't know. And yet we're making rules in that because we think we know, and it's still an incomplete. But so tackling has become a huge issue in the game. I mean, if you're a defensive guy and you're watching a game on a Saturday afternoon, you're probably losing your mind at a given moment for the missed tackles. So those are kind of the things. I believe in a multiple gap fronts. I don't want to sit. I think I learned this from my dad and some wing tee gurus that he hung out with. If you sit in something, they're going to figure out how to block it. I'm a huge fan of stemming. In other words, moving from one front to another, or one variation of a front to another variation front. Anytime I can get the offensive lineman to stop and think and second guess themselves, that's an advantage for the defense. Truthfully, I would prefer stemming over blitzing and pressure. Every offense has a blitz pickup period. Every offense has a pressure period. Very few offenses work against stemming on a day-to-day basis. I'm a zone guy. There's a time and place for man, but I'm a zone guy. If I don't want yards after catch, I need to have my secondary have their eyes on the ball and where it's going so they can get there and make tackles. I think, as man-to-man has gotten more popular and allowed more pressure, I think people play it more. And quite frankly, at times it's a great coverage to be playing. But I go back to the Oregon-Washington games I watched this year, and the yards after catch were a devastating statistic against Oregon. When we talk about gap coverages, too many kids think, oh, I'm going to run through the gap. And they go 3 yards deep and they run right past the ball carrier coming underneath them. So we teach gap and a half a man. We're going to control that lineman that we're shading, and we're gonna play a gap and a half a man, and we want to build a wall on the heels of the offense. Build a, one of the things that that I learned when and let's set the story straight. This is not my defense. This is a defense that I was taught by Coach Lambright and Coach James in the early 90s at University of Washington. We've modified and tweaked to fit the high school talent. Not many of us have a 6'4" tight end that runs a 4.5. But we basically took Washington's defense from the early 90s and adopted it. We want to set an edge. I watch games time and time again, and I don't see anybody setting the edge. And to us, setting the edge is different than contain. We want our defensive ends or our weak side backer who might be on the line of scrimmage. We want them to set the edge to the interior 5 linemen. We want them to either wrong arm or blow up any pullers and force that play back inside over the tackle or the guard. Or we want them to have to give ground and bubble to the sidelines, which then will allow our primary contain players to come up and contain it or further drive it to the sidelines. So we really distinguish between setting an edge is a much more violent, much more aggressive way to turn a counter, a trap, a pin and pull back into the interior part of the offensive line, or force it to give ground and bubble to where the pursuit and that gets to it. Quickly, I think players need to have goals. And so we kind of talk about what we'd like our players to look like physically. I always start off with a 3.0. I think if you can get a 3.0, you can be a good football player, because I'm only going to have to tell you things a couple times for it to be part of your memory. If you're a 1.9, you're probably not going to be a very good football player because you don't retain anything. So just a quick kind of lift on what we expect from our players in terms of lifting and that. And I think one of the things I would tell the people, these are guidelines. They're not absolutes. It says outside backer is 160 to 190, inside backer is 170, 200. 2011, we won a state title with an outside backer that weighed 145 and an inside backer that weighed 150. Sometimes the kid bucks the trends. We're not college coaches. We don't have to be wrapped up in the tape measure. We can roll the dice on some kids that obviously don't fit the mold. So here we go. Kind of our base against 21 personnel. So we call it 40. Our first number is our front. Our second number is our coverage. So this would be 43. I'm not a big too high guy. I want to stop the run. I think you can stop the run when you got 8 in the box better than you can with 7 in the box. Our ends, our stud end, and our weekend are going to set the edge, or we're going to clog up the middle. Again, nothing, earth shattering for you guys. Like I said, I'm a big one guy. One guy will play some cover 5, which if you read Kenny Simpson's headsets, there's a couple articles I put in there about cover 5. It's a combo coverage. It's cover 2 to the field and man-to-man back to the boundary. Cover 9 is an old Washington Husky defense from the battles with Nebraska days, where the corners are inverting to halves and and we're robbing with our safeties, and then obviously cover one. So, we give two strength calls to our defense. We're going to give a Liz or Rip to set the front seven, and we're going to give a Roger or Larry to set the back four. So kind of what we do. Here it is against 21 personnel. I know a lot of people don't run tight ends much anymore. We're a big fan of tight ends. So the tight end usually determines the run strength for us. So in this case, it'd be a Rip. It'd be a Rip, and the secondary would be a Louis. So you'd end up with the Panther and the Whip on the same side, which is fine for us. We moved to more of a 4-3 look with the Mike backer there, and allows us to play run strong. None of this is earth shattering, I'm sure. So kind of what I was talking about defensively, I don't know where it went. There it goes. We're zone. I want to break on the ball. This state championship in 2007. I got three guys around the ball hitting somebody. So, that's kind of the goal of what we want. So where did I go? There it is. Okay, so here you go. Here's the big standard set for today. The no tight end, 2x2 with an H back. Based on our scouting reports, we would call the front, we would call it a Rip, and we would call it a Rip because in the scouting reports, we would see this H back is a big part of their split flow look, and he's going to come back to run power and run things back to the other side. So scouting report would tell us, hey, we're going to set our strength away from that H back. And so that's what we would do. Again, the coverages, we would run behind it. Guys, none of, I would love to tell you that some of this stuff is earth shattering, that, I've discovered physics and, this is the magic to kind of play on Randy. Our culture, the way we teach, the way we play, the way we approach the game is what makes this defense special for us. These X's and O's are the same X's and O's that transverse the country. You're learning absolutely nothing new from me scheme wise. Hopefully I can tell you some things that we do and teach here a little further longer that make us special and unique. But my dad told me long ago when I came to be a head coach in Oregon that I would find out real fast that plays don't win games. There's a whole lot of other things that win games besides plays. And he was right, like most dads are. So again, okay, here's our cover two look. Our strong side inside backer is really our strong safety. He's the one that's the protected most on line of scrimmage, so we will drop him back when we want to play cover two. When I started my career back in 1984 at Claremont Colleges, I was a huge cover two guy. Huge. Tampa 2 was the big thing. Everybody was running cover two. We were an Okie front. I don't think anyone says Okie anymore. And we ran the Dickens out of it, and even clear back in the 80s, you saw some of the problems with only 7 in the box when you would prefer 8. So again, kind of the basics of what we do in terms of front. If you guys like these diagrams, there's a guy out of Fresno, Clovis area, Daniel Budd, that offers these to coaches, these Google slides. And let me tell you, at 65, I'm not very technology based, and the ease in which to use these is amazing. And he said, well, what are your school colors? I go, well, right now I'm just a retired guy, so let's go with Servite colors, and we'll use an Old English S. But he'll make these exactly for your program. They're wonderful. So
Yeah,
here,
I was sorry to interrupt you, but when you said, "Hey, none of this is earth shattering," I thought, well, I can tell you what I'm learning right now for sure is this playbook format is great.
yeah,
Um,
I think it's really good. I kids are visual, um everybody's gone doing stalls. I mean, here I'm going to age myself. You used to give a kid a playbook and they read it. I got a linebacker coach and we were talking. He goes, well, do you want me to read guards? I'm like, why? They don't read books. What makes you think they would read guards? We're going to read flow. And that was tough for him. I said, fine, if you want to read guards and you can give me the results I want, read guards. I'm not gonna draw a line in the sand that ends up hurting us all. If you're comfortable having your linebackers reading guards to get where they need to be and you can make it happen, then go for it. I think sometimes coaches get too stubborn on, my way or the highway. And I think there's times to be that way. But I think there's other times where, give some of your assistant coaches some ownership, some freedom to where that gives them a chance to buy in and feel like they're part of it. No one wants to, my dad, my late dad, when he was alive, coming from a coaching family, me and my dad were about the complete opposites in style of coaching. My dad was very much in the John Wooden, stoic, quiet, very that, and I'm probably a little bit too much like Bo Schembechler and those guys. And my dad would always go, we sent you to a private school, you're a college graduate. Why you got to talk like a sailor? And I said, Chaucer, Dad. Chaucer wrote in the vernacular and wrote to the people, not down to the people. And I think when I coach and I think when I teach, I want to talk to the people who are working with me. I don't want to talk down to the people. And I think that's important. I think arrogance gets in the way of all of us. And so first staff meeting, I'm with the new staff, and the linebacker coach is out of Florida, a great state for football. And he says, I think we should read guards. And I'm like, okay, let's do it then. Just make sure that they read the guards and work. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So here's our trips. Everybody, I spent the last 2 weekends talking to coaches because, as you know, one of the things you got to do when you're putting your defense together and you're putting your secondary packages, everybody gets stuck on four verts. Well, how are you going to defend four verts? And everybody's got their ideas. Hey, you need to be in a two deep. You need to play match. You need to play quarters. You need to play this. And talking to some guys that I trust, four verts are definitely an issue, but I don't know if you build your whole defense around stopping one play. So here's the trips open look that we're going to get. We can play cover 3. We can play what we call cover 6 to that side, which is our match. We can play, match quarters. One of the things I got to make a decision on, Randy, and I think you can appreciate this, coming back into the game, I don't want to run 8 coverages not very well. I want to run 3 or 4 really well. And I think you got to be careful on what you pick and not pick. I think if you run too many things, you run none of them well. People who know me and are listening to this are probably laughing because we made a real good living offensively running 2 plays for 18 years. So I kind of have the same philosophy. Defense, don't run so many things that you run none of them well. you know, we're gonna pick 3 or 4 coverages and run them really well. So there's our alignment versus trips. 2 by 2, some things we do, you know. Let's get to the meat of this presentation. So pressure packages, you know, what are you going to do? You know, one of the things we talked about when I was setting the table here is the first digit is our front. So 40, 50, 30, whatever the front is. And then the second number represents the coverage. And in any word after that, any tag after that brings about something. So we have some simple pressure packages. All we have to do is tag it with a position name, and that kid knows he's going. So if you look at this, you know, here's, you know, just against, you know, I don't know if anybody sees this kind of set anymore in offensive football, but we ran it. I mean, does anybody run the eye anymore, Randy?
Not in Texas, honestly. Like I didn't see it last year any, or you know, haven't seen it in a while.
See,
No.
that, to me, that would be all the more reason to run it.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
got to tell you, I love the Texas football coaches. I love talking with them, and I'm kind of falling in love with that slot T Mafia group. They are, you know, they remind me of my dad's old wing T, you know, cult, you know, secret handshakes and code words and all that. But so, you know, if we were just to go 43 Panther, that would send our Panther, our strong outside backer, on a stunt. If we tagged it with Sam, that would send our Sam through the C gap. We teach bilingual defense here in Oregon. So if it's a Mike, the Mike's going through his weak B gap. If it's Miguel, he's going through the strong A gap and then whip. So those are just, you know, that's a way to get 5-man pressure, just to bring one kid from one direction. Nothing earth. I think the thing that we all strive for, whether it be offense or defense, is the simplicity to build a vocabulary and a terminology to make things happen. You know, we're all searching for, you know, the easiest way to get the call in without a lot of verbiage and having enough verbal cues that the kids know, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So that's, you know, just our basic 5-man. We have the ability to 6-man. If it's sword, we're bringing both strong side guys. If it's wizard, we're bringing both weak side guys. Again, nothing earth shattering. I know you guys are all stuck on this archaic, old school offensive formation, but dog brings both outside guys. Blitz brings, and I'm not a big blitz guy inside. I can't speak for everybody, but offensive line splits are in a lot of cases becoming non-existent. You know, they're you know, a foot, less than a foot in some cases. So I think trying to run guys up through the middle doesn't have the results that we always want it to. And then, you know, the other way of running what we call Spanish. So, and in map, you know, Mike and Panther, Saw, Sam and Whip. So we got some exotic ones, you know, and I go over this all quick because, you know, this is just kind of introduction to what we do. I would tell you, we're not a big exotic pressure guy. We do not use a lot. You know, we maybe, you know, game plan 3 a week for particular opponents. We have a tendency to use them more against the run than the pass. If you coach football on the rural coast of Oregon, you're going to see a lot more run-based offenses than pass-based. You know, everybody loves Chip Kelly when he was here at Oregon. Everybody wants to run the duck and chuck spread. But the weather doesn't permit that, come November, it's going to rain. You're going to have winds going 50 miles an hour. So we use most of our exotics to try to stop some aspects of the run game. We use 3 or 4 times in a year, 3 or 4. My defensive coordinator in 2007, the year we won state, we're playing a game, and he calls one of these, and I'm like, "You've called that 4 times this game." "I know." He goes, "I like it." I go, "You're supposed to call it 4 times the whole year." I don't want people prepared. So, here's what we call stab and knife doing some things. So, if we want them to both to go at the same time, so stab is the strong side, knife is the weak side. If we want them both to call, we call dagger. I got this blocked. I can't see what it is. Anyways, here's another. This is T-saw. So, we have all these exotic that we have. Stemming. Okay, here's what you guys came to listen to. Okay. Because we all can X and O. You guys all run great defenses. I've watched enough high school football to know there are some amazing defensive coaches out there that all understand scheme of that. I think what makes us unique is our ability to change the front on cadence. There's nothing quite as that warms my heart of seeing an offensive lineman seize up mentally on the line of scrimmage, because you just moved to another front and they have no clue what to do. So still believe it gives modern footballs more problems than blitzing does. I believe our ability to send from front to another completely creates a real advantage for us on the line of scrimmage. So how do we do this? Where to go? Oh, it's going to do that again. So we literally move. They look at that I formation, and we're moving. Let me run it one more time since I had that shrunk.
Yeah, for some reason, we're not seeing anything but we're seeing the orange box around it, but just
okay,
a black.
hold on. Let me get here to where I can get this right. Yeah, let me see. Let me see if I can fix this here. I want to share screen again. I want to share that one. Okay, can you see it now?
It says you've started screen sharing, so I think it's trying. Okay, now we can.
Okay,
Yes.
so here you go. We're lined up. Look at that. We just talked about how nobody lines up in a pro set, and here's the Coquille Red Devils doing me a favor lining up in a pro set. But we're in what we call 43 now. For us old guys, it would be a 4-4 cover 3. And on cadence, we're going to move to what we call weak. If you noticed in our 43, we were all shaded strong. You had, I don't know, I call it a 7 technique. Some people call it a 9 outside shade of the tight end. We have a 3 technique, we have a 2-eye, and we have a 5. And then when the cadence starts, our Mike backer is going to scream move, and everybody's going to move to a weak shade here because Coquille is a wing T team. And then we move right in and kind of blow it up. So again, we hang our hat on that as that. So let me get back to the presentation now. So that's what that blank screen was.
Yes.
Okay, so I screwed up. I'll fix it. I can do that. Okay, so in our 40 front, okay, not very good with technology today. Okay, so at the top is our base. You know, we're gonna, I don't know. I'm a guy who calls that 6 or a 7 on the tight end. I know that other people call it a variety of things. So our base is up front. That's what we're gonna line up in base. One of the huge debates I had when I got here is when I learned this defense, Washington was playing that strong side in a 6 to force the tight end to block, to declare what they're doing right away. The people that I worked with were really uncomfortable. You know, they were older school defensive guys. They wanted to play that end on the outside. So we went to 2. Base, he's outside. Husky, he's inside. And then we have weak. We also have Apache. We're double A. We have Bomb, which is double B. And then we have what we call Indian. We're just going to jam up the inside and let our linebackers run the ball down inside out. So, you know, those are our variations out of our 40 front. We play a 50. Our base 50 is Aranda's, what they call tight, 4-eye. We play Hawkeye, which for us old guys is double eagle. And then we're gonna literally play what we call Okie technique. We're gonna kind of give up the middle and anticipate, you know, some kind of buck sweep or wide zone, and so we'll play them there. I gotta be honest with you, we don't play Okie a lot, but it's in our arsenal to have. We play 50 and we play Hawkeye a lot. So how do we do this? It's great to say you're going to stem. How do you make it work? Terminology and simplicity is the key to us. So to go from base to a variation, we simply call the variation 43 Husky. So what that means is everybody would line up in 43, and then on the move call, our strong side in would stem to an inside position. Real easy. If it was 43 weak, everybody's going to line up in 43. On the move call, they're going to move to weak. So to go from a variation to base, we simply tag at Riverside. This tells everybody we're lining up in Husky and we're moving to base. So it'd be 43 Husky Riverside, which says, okay, so we're going to line up in 43 Husky, and on move, we're going to move back. So, you know, that's kind of how we do the things to line up. We want to, I don't want a lot of verbiage, you know, and I used to worry about tempo and the no huddle offenses and getting plays in. But one of the things I've noticed that, you know, in the last couple of years watching it, yeah, they don't huddle, but they stand on the line of scrimmage for 10 seconds. Well, everybody, I mean, why not huddle? I got plenty of time to get the defensive calls in. I may not be able to get personnel groups in, but I think if you teach in small schools in rural America, your personnel group's called the JV team. Our kids are personnel groups. Now, my tailback has to play wide receiver at times in certain formations. My strong safety has to be an inside backer at times. And, you know, we don't, you know, that might be different when I get the Crater now that I got, you know, 50 kids playing just defense. But, you know, most of us want our best 11 on the field, and we get caught up, you know, we want personnel groups. Well, why the heck are you taking your 2 best players off the field and putting 2 kids? I'd rather teach my best player a new technique or something different than to put a weaker player in there to do something, and, you know, and just kind of my personal preference. But we stem, I think if you looked at a game, I think 30%, 40% of the game, we're stemming. another 20%, we're probably, playing base. So, how to go from 40 to 50 or vice versa. So the way we do it is we give you the front number and then what we want to be in. So if we want to line up in 40 and move to 53, we would go 453 or 543 Husky. And that tells the kid we're going to line up in our 50 on the move call. We're going to move to a 43 Husky. And, one of the things we talk to our kids about, because this, that one 4.0 kid that plays defensive tackle for you is going to raise your hand and goes, Coach, what if they snap the ball before we get where we want? Hey, it's a slant then. If you're moving to where you belong to be and they snap the ball, just keep on going that way and treat it like a slant to that gap. Not many people have done that to us, but we want to be prepared. If we do not want to stem, we simply, can call 43, which tells the kids line up in 43. There's no variation. If I want to line up an Eagle or Hawkeye or something right away, I just tag it with now. So if I wanted to go 43 Husky and line up in it from the get-go, I would go 43 Husky now, which tells the kids to get in it now. Our Mike Backer makes the move call when the quarterback starts his cadence early in the year. He's going to make that move call too early. As he gets more comfortable, see what people are doing it, that call is going to come when you need it to come. So, this is, I got to tell you, Randy, and the guys who are listening, I think this is what makes us different. I think guys run tight. I think guys run, 40 and 50 and they do all those things. And everyone wants an edge setter. Everyone wants contain. Everybody wants people running the ball. I think the thing that makes us unique is our willingness to move and stem and show multiple looks. That's our disguise. Some people come out and give the same shell every time. And then when the ball snapped, they move and stuff to change that. We don't want a set look, We want those guys, where the heck are the Panthers going to line up? Where the heck are the Comets going to line up now? And when are they going to move to? I think anything that I can do to frustrate the offense in practice, not the game, the game, people used to ask me all the time, why do we run a full offense out of our punt formation? Well, because that guy that's preparing for me is going to waste 15 minutes a day taking away my punt offense, which means he's taking time away from how to stop our inside veer, how to attack our 40 front. He's practicing what we call a gimmick to take practice time away from him. So I think stemming and people learning how to deal with stemming takes valuable practice time away from them. And that's what I want to do.
I tell you, I couldn't agree more. Like, as an O-line guy, I'm just hoping that they're gonna, and I'm talking in Germany or wherever, where these guys have done this for a while, but you're still the worst athlete on the field, and make the worst athlete on the field think. And if we all five step exactly right and put our face exactly right, man, it's like you feel like you're the greatest O-line coach ever. It's hard to get five of the worst athletes to, I call it elephants on parade. And I've always said this, why don't more defensive coordinators make those guys think more and have to redirect? And so we don't talk much defense, but yeah, I'm all in on that.
I mean, I just, I think one of the things I learned when I got here is my dad in 1997, when I told him I was moving to rural Oregon, he just started laughing. And I'm like, what's so funny? He goes, well, you're going to find out that you don't know anything about coaching. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you coach secondary and you can coordinate a defense. You can't coach offensive line. You can't coach a quarterback. You can't, and you get to a small school, 1997, we were 250 kids, no equipment guy, no trainers. A couple of assistant coaches were good guys, but they weren't football coaches.
Mhm.
And so, it's certainly, I moved to Gold Beach for a lifestyle. I wanted rural, I wanted the ocean, I wanted to surf and fish and still coach football. I mean, I left big time football in Southern California in a darn good league down there because I wanted a rural lifestyle. I wanted to not lock my car. I wanted deer in my backyard. I want nice fresh salmon and Dungeness crab. And so I had to learn. I am a much better football coach than I ever was because I had to coach every position. I mean, the first 5 years I'm at Gold Beach, every clinic I go to, I'm hanging out with offensive linemen. And that's probably why I put in 50 pounds because I started eating like offensive linemen. Um, but I had to learn the game. And we all think we know the game based on our playing experience. And then we coached the position we played in high school, and we kind of run the same defenses that we learned from our high school and coordinators. And very few of us actually delve into the game and learn the game. So I feel blessed. A little bit of a Renaissance man in that I learned the game. And I had some great mentors, Bob Ladouceur at De La Salle, met him a few times, and he's a real quiet guy, but his books, his videos, his ESPN documentary, those were all huge things that help us get over the top and achieve the success that we wanted. So, and I, to go back to what you were saying, Randy, offensive line guys are so technical. And those guys, like you said, those 5 dancing bears have to dance in unison. And anything you can to short circuit that is an advantage to you. So, we spent a lot of time working this and seeing if we can make it work. Is that Sharon?
Yes, sir.
Let's see if it's gonna do it again to me. All right, let me fix it. Hold on. I am not very good with this technology stuff. I got to tell you, I'm just not. Okay, there it is. Let me blow it up. So this is against home game. And we are going to stem to suddenly enlarge that. We missed the stem. See, early in the season, we have a tendency to call it too early. See, they just moved there. We
Yep.
walked up. Holy cow, this is old. This is from 2004. So I've been at it a while.
So how do you get away? Here's the only thing that bothers me as an offensive guy or as an O-line guy.
Yeah.
And I know we do a lot of things that bother y'all. When somebody on the defense yells, move or go, and then they all stem real fast and we jump and I'm pissed. And so how do you teach your guys to stem and not have the other coach trying to get the referee to call a penalty?
Okay, let me get back to where is that. Are you guys seeing the screen now?
We're seeing your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think, we do the move call as a cue for the kids. But I know in 2007 in the state championship game, I turned to my defensive coach and I said, what in the hell are they doing? He goes, they're having fun, coach. We're up 35-0 in the first half. They're having fun. I go, well, what? I mean, so our kids know where they need to be when the ball is snapped. So the better we get at it, we don't need a move call. The kids know they're going to line up and they're going to move.
Okay.
So, we do the move call as a cue to teach it, to get it going. But as the kids gain more confidence and gain more confidence doing it, then they start moving on their own. I mean, I'm watching the state championship in 2007, and we got a nose, and we don't have anyone over guards or tackles or tight ends. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then just before the ball snapped, we move to a 3 shade and a what we call a 6 eye, and they run right into it. I think one of the great joys as a coach in the game is when the kids pick things up and can take ownership of it on their own. Hey, we're a stimming team. This is going to tell us the stem now. So this is what I'm going to do to stem. And you give them a very, very small window of freedom to make it work. We're all coaches. Freedom is not necessarily a good word to most coaches, but I think if you give your kids a little bit of freedom, they buy into it better. Because at the end of the day, we're all searching for buy-in. We're all searching for buy-in. So what are the practice, again, I read your book too, Randy, and I'm a strong believer in that culture beats strategy. Ultimately what makes our defense so successful is not the scheme. Anyone watching this and saying, well, God, we do that. Hey, we do that, we do, all those things. I think it's the way we go about getting our work done. We tackle every day. We tackle in April. We tackle in, one of the things I did when I got to Gold Beach is Oregon doesn't have athletic periods. So I proposed to the school board what we call zero period. It's a morning weightlifting class for our athletes. Once that class becomes academic, OSAA, our governing board, has no say over what I do. And so come April, we go to lifting 3 days a week, and the other 2 days a week are football, kind of install periods in the gym. And so we tackle. And years ago, there was a good defensive coordinator at a school called Orange Lutheran in Southern California, and he had a plethora of tackling drills that could be done without pads. I think too many coaches think you can just work tackling if you're in pads, and I beg to differ. You can work tackling. Most of us grew up in the 70s playing tackle football with no pads on anyways. And so, we don't necessarily take kids to the ground, but we work all kinds of tackling. The first 15 minutes on Tuesday and Thursday are going to be tackling. After our pre-practice and our running and conditioning stretching period, we go right to tackling. And we expect our offensive, I'll say, well, what's the offense got to tackle for? Well, because we throw interceptions every now and then. Some of those kids, if you're a small school like us, some of those kids will play both ways. So the only one we really excuse from tackling is the quarterback. But everyone else tackles. And then we spent a lot of time, and it took me a while to figure this out. When you in the 70s, everybody was playing read the hat, kind of a reading defense, Okie defense, and they read the hat and you identified blocks and do that. And I think as we went to a more attacking style gap, people gave up on trying to identify blocks and what's going on against me. So we spent a lot of time in pre-practice with defensive linemen. Hey, this is a double team. Hey, this is a guard pull, and how you're going to react to it. So we teach them to identify blocks as they're moving so they can react. And then the other thing too we do, We call it it's John Wooden's chair drills. You know, if you think back to the things that are really important to us defense, alignment, 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 align. If you can't get lined up right, you're gonna have trouble stopping anybody. So alignment, assignment, and then technique. So, you know, the technique is being taught when we teach block identification. Alignment is everything about Wooden's chair drills or our can drills. And then we get physical. You know, I have a lot of coaches look at me insane for doing this, but we call an option drill. We were a triple option team on defense, and we would spend 20 minutes a day literally beating the snot out of each other. The defense knew the play, the offense knew the play. The defense was going to cheat. I didn't care. Move those people, get me 3.5 yards every play, or that's treason. Somebody's going to die. You don't have a choice. And so you know, these are the things that made our scheme work. Again, it's the culture. Our kids, and I think our kids tackle pretty well because we're still a rural community. Not many of our kids sit on a phone all day. They bow hunt, they fish, they dirt bike, they kind of laugh at the people in Kansas and Arkansas sitting on a tree stand hunting because our kids actually track animals. You know, they're tracking and going after it. So our kids love tackling. They understand angles. They go after people. They get there with a bad attitude. We teach block identification, but our chair drills and our option are what make us unique. There's our option drill. So we run it uphill. Our football field has the second largest crown in American football next to the Rose Bowl. You can stand on our sidelines and all you can see is the helmets of the kids on the other sidelines. So our press box would be at the bottom of the screen, and we're filming this and we're running uphill, and we're going to run, what we call inside veer, and we're going to run it maybe 20 minutes that day, and we're going to beat the snot out of each other and holy smokes, and be physical. I think that's the one part of the game that I think we're missing today. It's become basketball on grass. I want to be a physical football team. I want to come November when it's raining sideways and it's 25 degrees, and I want to be able to line up and run the ball down your throat. Holy cow, maybe I should build an arc. It's coming down. But anyways, so this is our option drill. I had a defensive line coach say, "What's the purpose of this drill?" And I said, "To make that kid tough, because you can make kids tough, And we did a good job at that. So there's kind of a live look. Let's see if I can get this to work. Here we go again. Hold on. Stop share. Share again. You hear that rain coming down?
Yeah, I can actually see it through your windows.
Yeah, it's friggin' coming over I might have to build an arc. So here you go. I'll write it back for me. So here's our option drill. We're not in pads today. I think this is a spring practice, but we're working it. I got our kids hate bags. Anytime we tell them they got to use bags, they would rather go no pads, and the defense knows they have to give ground a little bit than pads. But we're coaching it up. God, I love the option. But so that's kind of what that's the big thing. I see Coach Holland kind of smiling there. Yeah, I'm really old school, Coach. I mean, I come from an era where you could fold up your helmet and put it in your back pocket. So yeah, that's kind of the key to our, I cannot emphasize this, and I know I'm giving Randy a plug, it's the culture you create, guys. It really is. Because I mean, we've all seen, we've all seen, we've all seen, teams that, run a, what the, hold on. Oh, I gotta fix it. Okay, so let me get back to where we belong. I think, oh, I'm done. I think we all get, I think we've all seen teams that run the same plays we do, but aren't successful. And we've seen teams that are much more successful running our same play. So, ultimately, what's the difference? It's how it's taught, it's how it's coached, it's buy-in, it's culture, it's all of those things that we bring to the table. So I don't know. Are you there, guys?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't know if the weather was cutting out the Wi-Fi.
No. Kevin, I appreciate you, buddy. Anybody have any questions? And I know Kevin Holland was like watching he's a Nebraska Husker fan, so you're probably thinking Tommy Frazier when you were watching that Option I football, Kevin. So
Hey, Kevin, I'm speaking to Kevin Holland right now. For the last 2 weeks, I'm in my time spinning on YouTube watching, match 3, Liz Rip, quarters, cover 2. It's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. And the amount of coaching time to defend the pass, I think we go overboard.
Mhm.
I think if you think back to your past season, how many teams beat you throwing the ball? I'm going into my 40th year of coaching. Holy smokes, 40th year of coaching. And I think in those 40 years, I think I've seen 3 Division I quarterbacks. Just 3. And yeah, great, there's a Division I quarterback, but are those Division I quarterbacks on the same team as some really good receivers that can catch the ball and know how to run routes? Do they have an offensive line that can pass block and give them time to throw the ball? I mean, there are so many variables to a successful pass game. You may have a Division I quarterback, but you may have a lot of, I don't know, future Marines running routes. They're not
Yeah.
Division I,
Yeah.
Division II wide receivers. I grew up in John McKay's era at USC, and he used to say 3 things happen when you throw the ball, and 2 of them are bad. It's incomplete and interception. And I say McKay had it wrong. There's 3 things, and 3 things that go wrong, because the third thing is they catch it and that receiver comes back to the huddle and wants to do it again. I think we used to tell our kids, if they're throwing, we're winning. So, and I don't have to be right. I'm sure there's a coach out there going, God, Stan Horgan, this guy's an idiot. And that's okay. My wife calls me an idiot every now and then. My kids bought in. My kids believed in what we did. They believed in our preparation. They believed in how we went about things. And because they believed, some of those things that maybe weren't fundamentally sound worked because they believed.
Yeah.
The power of kids believing in what they're doing is, oh man, you got a Nebraska sticker up there.
Yes, sir.
That's our offense. I mean, people ask me, what do you run offensively? I go, well, we're kind of like De La Salle in Nebraska. And people don't understand that. When I got Nebraska's playbook from 1992 and was looking at it, there's 2 ways to run the option. There's the finesse option, service academies, Houston, Veer, all that. And then there's big boys lining up and power option football. And I think what Devaney and Osborne did was power-based option football. And And I got to tell you, our kids. I used to think it was rural kids just wanting to be rural kids and physical, but man, our kids take a great deal of pride in lining up and saying, "Hey, we're gonna knock your teeth out one play at a time." So it's, to me, it's always been about buy-in. But man, the coverages, coach, they're overwhelming. They are overwhelming. And how do you get the practice time to get, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a coach. I said, look, I really like match 3, but I don't want to play match 3 all the time. I want to spot landmark drop at times and cover 3. And he looked at me, he says, nobody does that anymore. I'm like, yeah, okay, so what? It worked for a lot of years for people. So, cover 6 will be our match 3, and cover 3 will be, I don't really like calling it spot because we do a little bit more out of that, but a little more landmark based. So I think you got to be careful when you ask kids to read and make decisions on a run, because I'm still a classroom teacher and they have trouble reading books. So I don't know how they would read that, but yeah, it's the proliferation of coverage gurus and sharing videos. I like the guy that's at Oregon now, Barty. He does a good job, but I wish I could slow him down. But there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of stuff out there. So, all right, that's all I got, guys. Any other questions?
None for me, Kevin. Hey, stay dry, buddy, and thanks for contributing to the coaching profession again today.
Thank you very much. All right, I'll talk to you later. I got to get the weight room open.
Okay, see you guys. Thank
See ya.
you.